Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, expecting to see sunlight breaking through your window, only to find nothing. No dawn, no warmth, no golden rays painting the sky. Just endless, suffocating darkness. It feels impossible, doesn't it? But what if somehow the sun simply disappeared tomorrow? What would happen to us, to Earth, to every living thing? The truth is more shocking than anything you've ever imagined. This is World's Echoes, where we explore the mysteries that shape our existence. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to discover will forever change the way you look at the sky. For the first few minutes, you wouldn't even notice the sun was gone. That's because the light we see doesn't reach us instantly. It takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel across the vast distance of space between Earth and the sun. So for just over 8 minutes, the world would still look normal. The morning commute would carry on, birds would still be singing, children would still be playing, and people would be scrolling through their phones without the slightest clue that the most important thing in our solar system had just vanished. Then suddenly, like someone flipping a switch, daylight would end. The sky wouldn't fade slowly, it would be instant. 1 second, blue skies. The next, complete blackness. Streetlights would blink on. Confused faces would turn upward, searching for an explanation. Some would think of an eclipse, others a strange weather event. But there would be no sun peeking out, no glow behind the clouds, no explanation at all, just the kind of darkness that seeps into your bones. And then the panic would begin. News stations would scramble to explain. Scientists would appear on broadcasts, voices trembling as they tried to remain calm. Governments would issue statements telling people to stay indoors, to remain calm, though inside even leaders would be terrified because they would know what was coming. The sun is not just a giant ball of fire in the sky. It is the source of every breath we take, every meal we eat, every drop of water we drink. Without it, Earth is doomed. Within 24 hours, temperatures would begin to plummet. You might wake up in the morning to a chill you can't quite shake, even with the heater blasting. And if billions of people across the world all turned on their heaters at once, the power grids would fail. Entire cities would plunge into blackouts. Families would huddle under blankets, their breaths turning to mist in their own homes. Outside, frost would crawl up car windows, rivers would begin to harden, and the once gentle waves of the ocean would start to freeze over at the surface. But the cold would only be one part of the terror. Without sunlight, photosynthesis would stop almost immediately. Plants wouldn't be able to make food. Within days, leaves would shrivel, crops would die, and entire ecosystems would collapse. Animals that depend on plants would starve, and those that depend on animals would follow soon after. Humanity's carefully built food systems would unravel in less than a week. Grocery stores would empty. Desperate people would hoard whatever they could find. Riots would erupt. Civilization itself would begin to fracture. And then something even more terrifying would happen. The sun doesn't just give us light and warmth. It holds everything in place. Its gravity is the invisible anchor keeping Earth in orbit. Without it, Earth would no longer circle safely around the sun. Instead, it would fly off in a straight line like a car losing control on an icy road. At first, we wouldn't notice the difference. Earth would keep moving in the same direction, at the same speed, drifting into the black ocean of interstellar space. But with every day, every week, we would be carried farther and farther away from the warm cradle of our solar system, deeper into the freezing void. Think about that for a second. Humanity has always believed Earth is our home, safe, permanent, unshakable. But without the sun, our planet becomes nothing more than a wandering ice ball lost in the darkness of the universe. Pause here and imagine standing outside on that first night. The stars would be dazzling, brighter than you've ever seen, because the sun's glare would no longer drown them out. But instead of filling you with wonder, they would remind you of your fragility. You'd realize just how small and defenseless we are, clinging to a frozen rock that no longer belongs anywhere. Weeks would pass. Temperatures would drop to levels most of us cannot even comprehend. The average surface temperature would sink far below freezing, oceans would solidify, and the air itself would start to change. Without sunlight driving the winds and weather systems, the atmosphere would fall still. The skies would grow eerily quiet. Snow would fall and never melt. Cities would vanish beneath ice. Some humans might survive, at least for a while. Underground bunkers, nuclear power plants, geothermal vents, these could provide heat for a few lucky groups. But for billions of others, the cold would be merciless. Survival would become the only goal, and even then, time would be against us. All the while, Earth would keep drifting. No longer orbiting, no longer tied to the sun, we would be headed into the endless dark. Would we eventually be captured by another star? Would Earth someday circle a distant sun billions of light years away? Or would it simply wander forever, carrying the frozen remains of humanity into eternity? Now, let me ask you something. If you had just one day to prepare before the sun disappeared, what would you do? Where would you go? How would you try to survive? Think about it and share your answer in the comments. I'd love to know. Because this thought experiment isn't just about science. It's about perspective. The sun is the quiet constant of our lives, so reliable that we forget how much it gives us. But the moment it's gone, everything, our warmth, our food, our very survival, collapses. Without the sun, we are nothing. And yet imagining this nightmare reminds us of just how extraordinary it is that we have a sun at all, shining faithfully every single day. It is the reason we are here, the reason we can laugh, build, dream, and wonder. So the next time you feel sunlight on your skin, think about what it means. Think about how easily it could vanish. And let that thought fill you not with fear, but with gratitude. If this left you in awe, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to World's Echoes for more explorations into the mysteries of our universe. Because the universe is vast, unpredictable, and full of echoes. And together, we're here to listen.
In the first week without the sun, the world would already look unrecognizable. Imagine walking through a city that was once bursting with life. Cafes on every corner, laughter spilling out into the streets, children chasing each other across playgrounds. Now all of that would be replaced by silence. The cold would creep in relentlessly, and the snow would never melt because there would be no warmth to lift it. Buildings would become sealed tombs of ice. Streetlights, flickering as power grids failed, would glow weakly in the endless night before sputtering into blackness. Some people would try to carry on as if things were normal, at least for a little while. We are creatures of habit, after all. Schools might try to remain open for a few days. Workplaces might tell employees to keep reporting in. But gradually, reality would set in. Supplies would dwindle. Food would spoil in powerless refrigerators. The fear in people's eyes would grow heavier than the darkness in the sky. Governments, desperate to maintain order, would issue emergency plans. They'd gather people into centralized shelters heated by generators or nuclear reactors. Stadiums, subway systems, and underground bunkers would transform into survival camps. Families would be torn apart in the chaos, some never making it to safety. Above ground, abandoned cities would be left to the snow and ice, their lights extinguished like forgotten candles. Within weeks, oceans would begin to freeze solid, starting at the surface. At first, you'd see ice creeping outward from the shorelines, thin and fragile. But soon, sheets of ice would stretch for miles. Waves would stop rolling. The once powerful roar of the ocean would be replaced by silence, as if the planet itself had stopped breathing. Ships caught in the water would become frozen monuments to a vanished era of human exploration. It wouldn't just be the oceans. Rivers, lakes, and reservoirs would lock up, cutting off fresh water supplies. Entire ecosystems that depended on liquid water would collapse. Fish would suffocate beneath the ice. Birds would vanish from the skies, and forests would stand like skeletal graveyards, stripped of life. Yet, in the middle of this nightmare, there would be pockets of hope. Humans are nothing if not resourceful. Underground bunkers powered by nuclear reactors or geothermal energy could keep small communities alive. Scientists might set up survival colonies near volcanic hotspots where Earth's own internal heat still leaked to the surface. Imagine living in a city built entirely inside caves, warmed by the Earth itself, while the surface above froze into an alien wasteland. But survival wouldn't be easy. Resources would be limited, food would become the greatest challenge of all. With photosynthesis gone, crops could no longer grow naturally. Scientists would scramble to build artificial farms using powerful lamps to replace the sun's rays, but the scale required to feed billions of people would be impossible. Hunger would stalk humanity like a shadow. Only a fraction of people might survive, and even they would live under constant struggle. And then there's the psychological toll. Imagine never seeing sunlight again. No dawn, no sunset, no warmth on your skin. Entire generations would grow up in darkness, their only light artificial, their skies filled with stars that no longer comfort but remind them of everything they lost. The sun isn't just a source of energy. It's tied to our emotions, our sense of time, our very rhythm of life. Without it, days and nights blur into one endless stretch of shadow. Depression, fear, and hopelessness would spread faster than the cold. But the sun's disappearance would bring not just the collapse of life, but a cosmic shift of unimaginable proportions. Without its gravity, Earth would keep drifting into space. For a while, the stars would look familiar, constellations still shining above, giving us a false sense of stability. But as weeks turned to months, those constellations would begin to distort as our planet hurtled in a new direction. It would be like watching the universe slowly rearrange itself, reminding us that we were no longer tethered to the sun, but cast adrift into the endless dark. And as Earth drifted farther from the warmth of the sun's memory, temperatures would plummet beyond survivable levels. Within a year, the global average temperature could drop to around negative 73 degrees Celsius, colder than Antarctica's harshest nights. Oceans would be frozen solid for hundreds of meters. The atmosphere itself might begin to collapse as carbon dioxide and nitrogen froze out of the air, blanketing Earth in layers of ice. Breathing would become nearly impossible outside of sealed shelters. The Earth we knew, the blue and green planet teeming with life, would now be a frozen ball drifting silently through the void. Imagine astronauts looking down at it from a spacecraft. Instead of oceans shimmering under sunlight, they would see a lifeless white marble glinting faintly in the starlight. But yet, life is stubborn. Scientists believe that even in such extreme conditions, certain forms of life might cling on. Microbes deep in the ocean near hydrothermal vents could keep thriving, feeding on the heat from Earth's core. Tiny communities of bacteria, invisible to the eye, might survive for millions of years, even if the surface world was long gone. In a way, Earth would still be alive, even if humanity was not. It's almost poetic, isn't it? That life in some form might endure even after the sun abandoned us. That even in the coldest, darkest corners of existence, something would still cling to survival. Now, let's pause here. We've been imagining this nightmare as if it happens suddenly tomorrow. But have you ever wondered, what if, in some distant future, the sun really does disappear?
Not suddenly, but naturally, as part of its life cycle. Stars are not eternal. They are born, they live, and they die. And one day, billions of years from now, our sun will too. When that day comes, it won't vanish in silence. Instead, it will swell into a red giant, consuming Mercury, Venus, and perhaps even Earth itself. The oceans will boil away, the atmosphere will burn, and everything we know will be gone. After that, the sun will shrink down into a white dwarf, a glowing ember of its former self, shining faintly in the dark. That is the true fate of our sun, not sudden disappearance, but a slow, inevitable death. Thinking about this makes you realize how temporary everything is. Humanity has only existed for a tiny fraction of the sun's lifespan. Civilizations rise and fall in the blink of a cosmic eye. And yet, in this brief window, we have been given the gift of sunlight, the chance to build, to dream, to love. That gift will not last forever, but right now, at this very moment, it is ours. That's what makes this thought experiment so powerful. It shocks us, yes, it terrifies us. But more than anything, it reminds us of how precious the sun truly is. We don't think about it. We take it for granted. But every sunrise is a miracle. Every golden evening sky is a reminder of the fragile balance keeping us alive. So the next time you step outside, close your eyes and feel the sun on your face. Think about what it means. Think about how easily it could vanish and how different everything would be without it. And then remember, you are alive here and now in the warmth of a star that still shines. Because without the sun, there is nothing. With it, there is everything. Picture the Earth 3 months after the sun has vanished. Entire continents are now blanketed in unbroken ice. The oceans are frozen from the surface down hundreds of meters, with only the deepest waters closest to Earth's internal heat remaining liquid. The surface world is a graveyard. Cities lie silent, buried under snowdrifts that swallow skyscrapers and highways alike. Forests stand frozen in place, trees brittle like glass, breaking at the slightest touch. Animals are gone. Birds have fallen silent. The great migrations that once filled the skies and seas have ended forever. Humanity's once vibrant planet has turned into a still, frozen monument of what used to be. But underground, a few pockets of life remain. Picture a family huddled inside a converted subway tunnel warmed by a struggling generator. Their faces glow faintly under battery-powered lamps. The youngest child asks a question nobody knows how to answer. Will the sun ever come back? Parents exchange glances, holding back tears. Because how do you tell a child that the star they've drawn in their notebooks, the star they've always counted on, is gone forever? And this wouldn't just be one family. It would be millions of people in shelters, caves, and underground bunkers trying desperately to hold on. Nations would collapse, borders would mean nothing. Survival would depend not on wealth or power, but on sheer luck, whether you happen to be near one of the few heat sources left on Earth. The psychological weight would be crushing. Humans are tied to the sun in ways we don't always realize. Our body clocks, our moods, our entire sense of time and rhythm, all of it depends on day and night, on light and dark. Without the sun, there is no dawn, no dusk, no natural cycle. People would lose their sense of hours, days, even months. Underground, clocks would keep ticking, but the meaning of time itself would blur. Depression and hopelessness would spread like a second invisible disaster. And in those dark tunnels, whispers of superstition and fear would rise again. Some might see the sun's disappearance as punishment, others as prophecy fulfilled. Meanwhile, above all this human struggle, Earth itself would continue its silent journey. Freed from the sun's grip, our planet would move in a straight line, drifting farther and farther into interstellar space. Imagine looking up at the stars after 6 months. The familiar constellations, Orion, the Big Dipper, the Southern Cross, would all be slightly shifted, like puzzle pieces nudged out of place. It would be a subtle change at first, but as years passed, the skies would twist into patterns no human has ever seen. The maps in our history books, the constellations our ancestors once used to tell stories, would be gone. We would be under a new sky, forever unfamiliar. Temperature by now would be beyond brutal. Average surface conditions would reach -100 degrees Celsius, colder than the coldest places in the solar system where we've landed probes. The air would grow heavy with ice crystals, and the once breathable atmosphere would begin to condense and fall as snow. Yes, even oxygen and nitrogen, the very gases we breathe, would turn to frost, piling on the frozen ground in strange, glittering layers. Breathing outside would become impossible, not only because of the cold, but because there would be no air left to breathe. Earth would be losing the last traces of its habitability. But even as the world froze solid, life deep underground would continue. Tiny bacteria around hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the oceans would keep thriving, powered not by sunlight, but by the Earth's own internal heat. It's strange to think about, but while the surface of the planet froze into silence, invisible microbes would keep living, proving once again that life is stubborn, refusing to yield even to the cold death of a starless world. Now imagine hundreds of years later, Earth wandering endlessly through space. Entire civilizations long gone. Whatever shelters remained would be abandoned, their walls caved in, their lamps long extinguished. The surface of Earth would be an endless sheet of ice, glittering faintly under the light of distant stars. If an alien civilization were to stumble across our planet in this state, they might wonder what kind of world it once was. They might dig through the ice and find our cities, our libraries, our voices preserved in machines and books, frozen artifacts of a species that once lived in the warmth of a star. And if they look deeper, perhaps they'd still find signs of life clinging on. Strange bacteria in the deep sea, colonies hidden in geothermal caves, tiny sparks of survival in a world of endless night. In a way, that would be humanity's legacy. Not the skyscrapers or monuments, but the simple fact that life once found a way to exist here, under the glow of a star. But let's return to the present, because this isn't just about imagining the end. It's about realizing the miracle of what we already have. The sun isn't guaranteed forever. In about 5 billion years, it will reach the end of its life, swelling into a red giant and destroying much of what we know. But until then, it is steady, reliable, and generous. Every sunrise is a reminder that we are, for now, safe in the warmth of our star. That's why this question, what if the sun disappeared tomorrow, strikes us so deeply. It makes us realize how just fragile our place in the universe is. It humbles us. It reminds us of how precious the sun truly is. We don't think about it. We take it for granted. But every sunrise is a miracle. Every golden evening sky is a reminder of the fragile balance keeping us alive. So the next time you step outside, close your eyes and feel the sun on your face. Think about what it means. Think about how easily it could vanish and how different everything would be without it. And then remember, you are alive here and now in the warmth of a star that still shines. Because without the sun, there is nothing. With it, there is everything. Without it, there is no light, no warmth, no food, no earth as we know it. With it, there is life, beauty, and hope. So take this moment right now to step outside if you can. Feel the sunlight on your skin. Look at the golden rays painting the sky. And remember that it is nothing less than the breath of life itself. A cosmic miracle we should never ignore. If you've made it this far into our exploration, thank you for exploring with me. And if you want to keep diving into the greatest mysteries of the cosmos, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to World's Echoes. Because the echoes of the universe are vast, and together we are here to listen. Centuries pass. The Earth is no longer a world of blue oceans and green forests. From space, it looks like a solid sphere of white and gray, covered in endless layers of ice. The swirling clouds that once wrapped around it have vanished, frozen out of the sky long ago. The Earth has become a wandering ghost planet, drifting silently between the stars, carrying with it the frozen remains of everything we once knew. If you could stand on the surface, though no human could survive it, you would see a frozen wasteland stretching forever. Mountains are buried beneath glaciers that rise higher than skyscrapers. Rivers are no longer liquid, they are crystalline scars etched into the land, sparkling faintly under the pale starlight. The oceans, once alive with whales, coral, and schools of fish, are sealed under kilometers of ice. Below that frozen ceiling, the last remains of marine life may still cling to volcanic vents. But for the rest of the planet, silence rules. And yet, as Earth drifts farther and farther into interstellar space, it carries a strange kind of beauty. Look up at the sky from this frozen Earth, and you would see the Milky Way more vividly than ever before. With no sun to drown out the stars, the heavens would explode in detail. Billions of stars, nebulae glowing faintly, galaxies spiraling in the distance. It would be breathtaking, a reminder that even in the darkest times, the universe still shines. But where would humanity be? Could we possibly survive centuries without the sun? The answer depends on one thing: adaptation. Some scientists have proposed that in such a disaster, humans could retreat deep underground, building cities powered by geothermal energy. Imagine massive caverns lit with artificial lamps powered by reactors or by the heat of Earth's core. Crops could be grown under artificial light, water recycled endlessly, and air filtered through carefully maintained systems. Life would shrink, becoming artificial and enclosed, but it would continue. Children would grow up never seeing the sky, never knowing what a real sunrise looks like, hearing about it only in stories told by their elders. To them, the sun would be mythology, a glowing orb that once warmed the world. Generations would pass, and a new culture would emerge. Humans would become creatures of the underground, shaping entire societies around survival in the dark. The concept of day and night might disappear entirely. Instead, life would be divided by cycles of work and rest, guided only by the ticking of clocks. And as centuries rolled on, memory of the surface world would fade into legend. People would still tell stories about the time when the Earth was alive with light. But to most, those stories would sound no different than myths of dragons or gods. Meanwhile, above ground, the surface would remain untouched, frozen in perfect preservation. Entire cities would be buried in ice like time capsules, a skyscraper in New York, a temple in India, a village in Africa. They would all still stand, locked in ice, preserved for millions of years. If intelligent beings ever found Earth long after humans were gone, they would see these frozen monuments and know that life once thrived here. But Earth itself would not stop moving. Without the sun's gravitational pull, our planet would continue drifting through the galaxy. Every so often, it might pass near another star. And if Earth's trajectory was just right, it could even be captured by the gravity of a new star system. Imagine that. A frozen, lifeless Earth suddenly drawn into the warmth of a new sun. The ice would melt, oceans would thaw, and perhaps, if any seeds of life had survived in the deep oceans or underground, they would awaken. It would be a cosmic rebirth. But what are the odds of that? Astronomers estimate that stars are separated by trillions of kilometers. The chance of Earth stumbling close enough to another star to be captured is incredibly slim. Most likely, Earth would wander endlessly, a dark planet traveling through the void for billions of years. Now, let's stretch this even farther. Imagine 1,000,000 years after the sun's disappearance. Humanity, if it still exists, has changed beyond recognition. Our descendants might live in massive underground networks, or perhaps they have left Earth entirely, taking to space in vast ships powered by nuclear energy or advanced technology. If they survive, they will tell their children of a time when Earth was warm, when a golden star shone in the sky. To them, the sun will be part of ancient history, a reminder of how fragile life truly is. But if humanity does not survive, if the cold finally overwhelms even the most advanced shelters, then Earth will drift alone. Cities, bones, machines, and memories frozen forever beneath the ice. A tomb of a once living world. Eventually, even the atmosphere itself will be gone, frozen solid and scattered into space. Earth will be nothing but a dead rock with a frozen shell, indistinguishable from a billion other silent worlds scattered across the galaxy. It's a sobering thought, but at the same time, there's something awe-inspiring about it. Earth, this fragile planet, would become a message in a bottle drifting through the cosmos. Perhaps someone will find it. Perhaps another civilization will stand over our frozen ruins and wonder what stories we told, what dreams we had, what kind of star once shone on this icy world. And here's the question I want to ask you right in the middle of all this. If Earth really did lose the sun, and you had the chance to survive underground or in a spaceship far away, would you choose to live in that kind of world? Or would you rather accept the end and fade with the planet? Think about it and tell me in the comments, because your answer reveals not just what you do in a disaster, but what you believe makes life worth living in the first place. Now, let's imagine the very far future. Not thousands, not millions, but billions of years from now. Earth may still be wandering. Stars around it may have been born and died. Entire galaxies may have shifted. And Earth itself, battered by cosmic rays, collisions, and time, may be reduced to nothing but a barren husk. But here's the astonishing part. Some traces of us could still remain. The Voyager spacecraft, launched in the 1970s, are already on their way into interstellar space, carrying golden records with sounds and images of Earth. Even if Earth freezes solid and disappears from memory, those tiny spacecraft will continue drifting through the stars, silent ambassadors of humanity. Imagine an alien finding one of those golden records long after Earth is gone. They might hear our music, see our images, learn our languages, and realize that once, near a long-vanished star, a species lived that dared to dream of the cosmos. That thought alone is staggering. Even if the sun disappears, even if Earth freezes, even if humanity fades, some part of us may still echo across the universe. And that's what makes this thought experiment so powerful. The sun feels eternal to us. It rises every morning, sets every night, and has never failed. But in truth, it is fragile, it is temporary, and so are we. The sun will not shine forever. The earth will not live forever. But for now, in this brief moment in cosmic time, we have both. We have warmth, we have light, we have life. So the next time you step outside and feel sunlight on your face, think about how precious it is. Think about how easily it could be gone. And remember that without the sun, there is no earth as we know it. No you, no me, no story to tell. If this exploration has left you with awe, shock, or even a bit of fear, that means you felt exactly what I hoped you would. Because the truth is both terrifying and beautiful. Our existence depends on a star, and that star could vanish in an instant. But while it shines, let's celebrate it. Let's learn from it. Let's honor it. Because the sun is not just a star in the sky, it is our lifeline, our protector, our silent companion in the vast universe. Thank you for watching, and if you want more explorations of the strange, the terrifying, and the wondrous, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to World's Echoes. Because the echoes of the universe are vast, and together we are here to listen.